Well, happy holidays, everyone. We are back with another episode of Career Talk with OG. For those of you that celebrate la Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año Nuevo. Today, as always, I have a lot of amazing friends. And today we have Dr. Gilberto Pérez, who is the vice president for student life at Goshen College. Goshen College is in Indiana. Okay, if you don't know where it is, Google it, folks. Google Maps. Okay, but we're going to be talking today about the work that he does as it relates to student life, and also in terms of like as we said, in the marketing piece that I put out, Goshen College Student Life, living into Nuestra Identidad y Cultura, because Goshen College also recently it was the recipient of a grant money from the federal government to help support some of the HSI initiatives. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But let me share a little bit about background about mi amigo Dr. Gilberto Pérez. So again, as I mentioned, he is the Vice President for Student Life, Hispanic Serving Initiatives, and Dean of Students at Goshen College. He has served at Goshen College for 11 years. He's also served as an associate professor of social work and director for intercultural development and educational partnerships at Goshen College. He is the president. He's very involved in his community. He is the president CEO of Bienvenido Community Solutions and also serves as city councilman of Goshen, the city of Goshen. So, mi estimado Gilberto, welcome. Bienvenido to Career Talk with OG.
Oscar, it's a joy, man. It's wonderful to be here with you. You inspire so many people, and I mean, I feel very honored and fortunate to be here with you today, and all the folks that follow you. You've got an amazing following, and it's just great to spend a little time with you and appreciate the opportunity that those minutitos, right? Kind of talk about some of the stuff happening at Goshen College.
Oh, no, thank you. No, gracias, gracias. Thank you so much, Gilberto. It's also my pleasure here. But um, I mean, let's start off as I always do with my guests. Before we get into our topic for today, share with our audience a little bit about Gilberto, whether it's maybe your personal journey or or maybe something that's not on LinkedIn, that you want to share, so we can get to know you a little better, a little more.
Well, yeah, great question, Oscar. I grew up in South Texas, and I lived most of my my childhood in Robstown, Texas, right there by the coastal bend, by Corpus Christi. And so my early years are in a community where there's just a lot of family happening. There's a lot of community happening. There's a lot of sometimes I carry this little thing here, and
Oh,
es una guitarrita, right? So
oh yeah.
there's always music in my house, and so my mom's a singer, and I learned to play guitar at a really young age. And so one of the really cool things about me and my mom when I was a young boy there in Robstown is we used to have this contest. And the contest between my mom and I was that a ver quién se cansa primero, right? So who gets tired first?
Yes.
So it's either me playing my guitar or the songs that my mom actually knew at that time. And so I would just like be playing with her, and she'd be singing, and I go, y otro, dale, otro. And so it was one of those things growing up that just made for my life in terms of happiness and joy
Yeah.
to sing. And one of the things that's interesting about my journey to Goshen College is that I just got out of a meeting with some folks at the Center for Community Engagement and a lot of other colleagues. And one of the things I said of like what I like about this community where I'm at is that it's a singing community. It's
Mm,
the people here love singing. No, pues llegué a mi casa, right? So I arrived at my house where at growing up as a teen, it was all about music and there was
yeah.
guitar, learn how to play bass, a little bit of accordion, a little bit of saxophone, and then just being in the band hanging out with all the good people of like we used to call it Roestan or Robe.
Yeah.
Just really good, buena raza, good gente, right? Of
Yes.
living life to the fullest with las carnitas y la barbacoa, Joe Cotton's barbecue. If you've got some followers from Corpus and all those places, Joe Cotton barbecue still is the place for. My dad used to go on Sunday mornings and he
Yes.
traía la bolsita, no, with la barbacoa y échale, papá. It was just it was a really, really a great childhood growing up in that community, and I just still have so many fond memories of my friends and the people that we hung out with. And music has been just a part of what I do, and being in mariachi band in
Yes.
school, and now starting a mariachi band here at Goshen College with my
Ándale.
colleagues in the music center. Todo el mundo a cantar y a llorar y que wow, everybody's gonna like, me pegó en el corazón esa
Corazón.
canción, right? So that song just really hit my heart. And that's what I want these kids to also hear at the college, and these young kids that we've got in the programs, is to feel that our culture growing up in South Texas, as for you, if you've grown up in California and some in Mexico, right,
Yes.
is la música, es parte de
Yes.
la cultura, right? That really
Yes.
gives us joy, and we learn these rancheras and corridos and himnos and things that really kind of bring us together to tell our stories of who we are as families, in
Mhm.
many ways, of going back and forth to the north and to the south for migrant farm worker
Mhm.
work, as my family did.
Mhm.
That singing with my mom, that's the joy of living life with the culture of. It's those corridos that really talk about the struggle of the
Yes.
migrant and the person who moves from one, and the rancheras, right? That
Yes.
talk about my chinita who, te voy para Luisiana y te vas con el TP y te dejo en Indiana y cuando regrese. No, hombre, una canción ahí de todo, right? Like, and so it's those songs that that really have made my life high. And I've written my own songs, and I've been in a trio and traveled some in the country around, singing with people. And so that's a little bit about just my personal journey of like who I am.
Mhm.
Ponme una rancherita, ponme un corridito. El Bad Bunny está bueno, pero uh, me voy con Flaco Jiménez, right?
Yes.
And Stevie D All Star Cast from South Texas, and Grupo Beso, and Texas
Yes.
Sonido. These are bands that my cousins are all a part of in Texas, and
Ándale.
making the charts of the Tejano music. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate that music that my family got us going with.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that, Gilberto. I had no idea, that you come from this musical background, and also, of course, the memories and the between you and your mother, as you shared,
Mm.
what beautiful memories, right? That you have, and I also come actually from on my mother's side of the family from a musical family.
Really?
As I shared with you, my family is from Zacatecas, and
Mhm.
I had uncles that in Zacatecas, el tamborazo style of music is very
Oh,
popular.
yeah.
Yeah, and so so I have relatives that started su banda de tamborazo here way back in the day, and then to this day. I have cousins that play in a banda, and my son actually majored in music and performing arts and so forth. So yeah, it runs in the family. Although I will admit there are some things that skip generations because I can't play an instrument and I can't dance, but it's okay. That's another topic here.
Well, I learned to play the instrument, and since I was playing the instrument, I never learned to dance. So así que a veces
Ándale.
I have two left feet, and so maybe I'll get some lessons here in the next year or so. My
Yeah,
goal.
good though. But let's get into the topic. You started touching upon this. So, well,
Mm.
first of all, I have a mix of an audience that follows me that's in the education space and then
Yeah,
also in the corporate space. So,
yeah.
for those that are in the corporate space, give us just a quick high level overview of what a vice president of student life does. or
Yeah, that's a great
responsible for?
question. I think when we think of vice president, whether you're in the C-suite or in a not-for-profit sector, vice presidents are really partners and really kind of consultants to presidents. And so the
Mm,
vice president role really kind of takes a role of, okay, who else in the circle is a vice president? And so therefore those individuals that you're partnering with, they become your collaborators, your partners on the vision of the institution, right? So the
mhm.
vision of any institution is really kind of the long view of what we're really seeking to obtain in the future, and we're
Yes,
always working on that vision to then get to the mission, which is the crux of the things that we actually do. And so I
yes.
kind of see my work as vice president of student life here and vice president of Hispanic Serving Initiatives is this idea of looking very specifically at the way the institution will see itself in the future. And it
Mhm.
needs to really kind of dedicate some strategic, it becomes more of a thought leader group. You're sitting around the table with some pretty intelligent people, right?
Yes,
They've reached these positions of vice president and president because they're individuals who have shown great ability to solve problems and to actually make things work and to solve, communication issues and
yes.
conflicts. And so you're in this room with very talented people, which I am. And when I think of the people I'm working with,
Mhm.
it's really thinking strategically about, okay, what would some enrollment issues be? What would some things related to finance be? Well, my background is not finance, but potentially my experience is in community around how financial decisions have been made with certain groups of people as a social work background, etc., help influence some of the conversations for those high level. So they're really, I think, high level conversations around
Yes,
the vitality of the organization, the vibrancy of the organization, the future. And so we're spending a lot of time thinking about how we encourage our teams to then go and do the work, which is a lot of the mission work of como le haces, what are you
yes,
doing, how are you engaged in the work. And so that's kind of how I see my role. As I'm a partner with the president to
yes,
offer my experience, and then she guides me in the work that I'm doing, and I'm then a collaborator and a partner with other vice presidents to think
yes.
about their work and my work together in the pushing out the mission, the vision of the of Goshen College.
Yeah, that is very well said, Gilberto. Because as I was listening to you, I'm almost thinking like the president of the country with his cabinet,
Yeah,
right? The key folks that you get together. Again, in this case, the college president gets together with her vice presidents, each responsible for different areas. And like you said, working on collaboratively that mission. Where are we going to take? Where are you going to take the college, Goshen College, to, and so forth? But thank you for sharing that, because again, like I said, I have folks, an audience also that's in the corporate setting, and the way you've explained it, I think it just really makes a lot of sense. So let's talk now then in terms of some of the things that Goshen College, that you are involved specific as in student life.
yeah,
And as I mentioned earlier during the introduction, I did see that Goshen College is a recipient of some Title V funding from the federal government. Tell us a little bit about this funding, and sort of kind of how it came to fruition for Goshen College. What are some of the things, some of the projects that you're working on, or will be working on?
yeah. No, that's a really great question, Oscar. Part of the work we're doing here at Goshen College, not just in student life, but in the developing HSI grant that arrives due to the really hard work of the writing team and the president really kind of getting in there and putting the grant together is really looking very specifically at our Latinx commuter student population. Even though it's a grant that we're going to help all students,
Yes.
but in the last 15 or so years, we have transitioned from being in pretty much an all residential institution which historically Mennonite was the main thrust of the students that were coming from other parts of the country. And so you've got to create a residential space, right? And that's what
Sure.
most colleges do. More of your urban schools then tend to have more of the transitional student that they work and they part time, and so they become more commuter students. And so, because we have transitioned to being more of a commuter serving campus, we really had to look at the data that would show us, well, how are we doing with that population? What's
Hmm.
happening with
Hmm.
these kiddos, right? And as they're entering into the space, and the data revealed some things that we kind of knew were there, but as we really kind of dove in to put the grant proposal together, it showed us that we needed to really understand the experience of the commuter, which they were saying, ooh, I've got a lot of familial responsibilities. I've got a lot of familial pressures to actually balance school and studying,
Hmm.
balance work life balance, as they kind of talk about it. We
Yes.
kind of think about it when you're a professional work life balance with our
Yes.
students and career, advising. But in reality, we had to kind of dive in and say, oh, we need to sort of understand that particular situation. The grant also helps us sort of think about how do we include more culturally affirming practices that our Latinx students at the college would need. And so therefore we're doing some more SWOT analysis and a scan of how we're doing that work of supporting our Latinx students. We're
Yes.
also with the grant, we're able to do more career advising and planning, right? And so as you're
Hmm.
familiar with a lot of these HSI grants, especially developing HSI grant, as we're learning in this very early stage, is it's really about how do you get students earlier into their career advising mode so they can kind of think about,
Yes.
well, man, don't take these classes that in your end of your sophomore year, you're actually a whole year behind, because if you would have been advised earlier in the process, pues te evitas el problema de, pues ahora tengo
Sí.
otro semestre. I got a whole nother semester
Right.
to do. And the financial aid runs out at 8 semesters, and then you're here 9 semesters. No, pero que la canción, right? You're like having a really hard time with how do I pay for this education that I'm enjoying?
Yes.
So the HSI, developing HSI grant, really helps us dive into hiring some folks that can really step in as career connectors or bridge builders to departments, to
Mm.
career advising experiences,
Hmm.
and then really kind of dive in, as I said earlier, not to repeat, but ¿cómo le hacemos, right? How do we do it to ensure that the familial pressure? So we need to create some interventions with parents and interventions with faculty of how do we balance the, mira, mijito, te necesito en la clase, and the student says, yeah, I gotta take my mom to Chicago to that immigration meeting, and
Yes.
and the
Yes.
professor says, hey, mijito, I need you in class.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's the cultural factors that are happening within families that we really need to get a more hold of, and support them, and the faculty, right? So they're folks who are really working hard to make it. They're bending over backwards. They're working with students, pero también hay que entender la situación un poco mejor. You gotta understand the situation a little better.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're hitting on so many areas that from a student and even as a parent, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I went to college and also as a parent of two that also went through college. The nuances, the situations that arise, right, in just in life in general, and then when we look at these instances that come up from a cultural lens, rather than looking at it as there's something wrong with the student or he or she is a bad student, they don't care about school. Instead, it's looking at how can we support or maybe adapt or the way we are teaching even as well, right? And so, yeah, it's definitely very, very, very important the work that you're doing.
Yeah, and
Um,
the grant, I would say,
yes,
Oscar, is this idea of our students. They're first generation, the majority of them, and so no saben todos los recursos. They don't know all of the
yes,
resources that are there, and so part of what we're striving to do more of through the opportunity here that we've received from DOE is how do you connect the students to the multiplicity of resources that the campus has
Yeah.
that es que no saben?
Yes.
Y a veces
Yes.
no hacemos el buen trabajo. Sometimes we don't do our best work to communicate those things either. So it's
Hmm.
not all
Hmm.
on the student. I think
Right.
institutions have to take responsibility for how you communicate. Is it culturally affirming? Is it culturally responsive? Is it really getting to what the student really needs? And
Yes.
we're really trying to do better at that here at the college.
Yeah. Well, and Gilberto, what you just said right now about colleges needing to do better, that's one of the things that I see you, because we're connected on LinkedIn, and so I see your posts, your comments. I see the work that you're doing out in the community, and it's one thing to know what to do, and it's another thing to know what to do and know how to do it and know how to connect with the students and with the community. And that, my friend, is where I see you excelling, that you know what to do, you're doing it, and you know how to connect with the community. Share with us some
Mm.
examples, some activities or events that you've done here in the past or recently, where again you are connecting with the students and the community, just bringing everyone together here.
Oscar, it's fascinating to think about how colleges do their work, and colleges can become a really great place to actually like to learn and you know ponerte acá muy cabezudo, no, and
Yes.
my frente is getting bigger every year, right? And so like tengo más espacio para meterle ahí, right? I have more space to put in there, so um and I think sometimes we underestimate la voz del pueblo. And so I say the
Yes.
community voice, the voices of community that can actually help shape the work that we do, and that the college then helps shape the community. So it becomes a reciprocal, reciprocity process where people are engaged with one another. And so, we're working really hard with community engagement. Like I said, we just got out of a meeting a little bit ago. One of the ways we're doing that again is music, right? There is
Yeah.
a local community based organization called Community Pro Education. They're big on cultural events,
Mm,
and they throw a big party, man. They throw an amazing fiesta on Hispanic Heritage Month. And so part of the work we're doing is in the Spanish they say arrímate, right? So
yes.
get close to the people. So part of our work here at Goshen College is we're really trying to understand who in community are the natural people that people are going to,
Yes.
because colleges aren't naturally that, because
Yes.
colleges can become places where we bring people from all over parts of the country, and
Hmm.
we're trying to make the curriculum work, and it works, right? So it works
Yes.
well here at Goshen College, but we're also having to realize that the only way that we can be successful is that if we build coalitions, if
Yes.
we build partnerships, if we build relationships con la gente, con la
Yes.
raza, con el
Yes.
pueblo, con el primo, right, that knows
Yes.
everybody in community, con el tipo que conoce a todo el mundo. And
Yes.
so you say, we are trying to get close to that particular thing. And so, we partner with the Community Pro Education for this festival, and it brings over 10,000 people. And the partnership with the city of Goshen, with the local community. You might think, well, todo el mundo hace un festival, papá. Everybody makes a everybody does festivals. But I think our intentional work is that we're saying to the community, we're going to send our students to be volunteers. We're going to
Hmm.
send our students to go cover it because we have a film production
Hmm.
program here. We're going to send our Latino Student Union to be volunteers. So therefore, there's this reciprocity that
Yes.
says we need the community to be successful. And the other way we're doing it is we're recognizing people's struggles, man.
Hmm.
La gente está en la lucha. The people are struggling with immigration, jobs,
Yes.
health, COVID. right? So one of the big initiatives we did in those beginning times of the pandemic is Goshen College partnered with Latino organizations and with the Elkhart County Health Department to create the Goshen College Latino Pandemic Response Team. And
Yes.
so it was made of Latino leaders that were in community. It was made of Elkhart County Health Department officials and Goshen College personnel that knew community. So we partnered with those groups that made it possible for our students to get the vaccine, and second, the families of our students partnering with the Northern Indiana Health Coalition, Hispanic Health Coalition, right? So
Yes.
those, we say that those things, that when you recognize people's struggles, cuando entiendes la lucha del pueblo, la causa del
Mhm.
pueblo, you then insert yourself into the real stuff of people. And
Yes.
then what can potentially, I'm not going to say that it happened all along the way, but what can potentially happen is you create lo que nos decimos en la cultura latina, right? Confianza, amigo.
Yes.
We
Yes.
build the trust with the people. And so therefore, now Goshen College is a destination for
Mhm.
support.
Mhm.
And one final thing, we realize that pues llega la gente y no sabe mucho inglés, ¿verdad? People come to the U.S. and they don't know a lot of English. They know some English because they've been learning in their countries. Y ahí duro, right?
Yes.
And a few years ago, Rocio Diaz, a colleague of mine, and I, her idea that we would move forward an English language learning class. So empezamos con 30, right? 30 people. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we said we're constant. Today, we have over 225 people
Ándale.
enrolled. We have over 100 people who are on a waiting list. And so, again, the voice of the community and understanding what their needs are, it's
Yes.
very important for institutions to sort of take us, mira, hágase para atrás. Like, and then once you've leaned back to sort of see what's there, mira, arrímate, get
Yes.
close to the people that know, and the word in English is pulse, but in
Yes.
Spanish, entiende el pulso,
Yes.
entiende el pulso de la gente, understand the people's pulse. And if you can, if it's palpable to you, es palpable,
Mhm.
then you've actually made some progress in possible equitable implementation work in the things you're doing. Because if you don't invest in decision making with the people, if you don't invest in dismantling those power structures, if you don't invest in the evidence that the community will give you, if you don't invest in those critical perspectives of what
Yes.
it means to be in community, if you're not adapting the work that you're doing, papa, mira,
Yes.
te me vas, porque en realidad, I mean, please go and do that somewhere else. Because here, we're going to spend time learning to know you. We're going to say to you, um, we're going to join you, the people.
Yes.
We want to hang out with you because ustedes son gente buena. Y a nosotros nos gusta lo
Mhm.
bueno, right? So, y si nos gusta lo
Mhm.
bueno, then we we then enter the space of community, and the community will do one of two things, we think, as we're learning, is it will say, mira, vente,
That's right.
or they'll
That's
say,
right.
eh,
Yes.
you do
Yes.
good work, está bueno, pero in reality, I'm going to hang out with these other people. And
Yes.
y te quedas fuera, you stay out. And so, we've seen that growth from very early on in the 1920s when the first Latino from Chicago arrived at Goshen College. And then in the 40s, Mr. Octavio Romero. And then in the
Mhm.
70s, and then in the 80s, the Hispanic Ministries Program. And then in the 90s, more of the cohorts. And then the 2000s, the Center for Intercultural Teaching and Learning. And faculty, como todo el mundo, ¿verdad? Like everybody's struggling to recruit Latino and African Americans and Asian Americans for fact. Estamos iguales. We're in the same boat.
Yes.
But if you can bring people on board that understand that your work here is about listening to the community voice, being present, joining people in the work that you're doing at Goshen College, you might have a better job. You might do a better work of doing some equitable implementation work with people that they say, "Mm, con esos me voy, fíjate." With those right there, yo me monto al tren con esos. I'm gonna get on the train with those folks
Yes,
because me abrazaron y sintieron mi lucha. That's
yes,
who I want to hang out with.
yes. Well, and Gilberto, you just shared, quite frankly, so many incredible tips on how to really create that sense of belonging, right? Not just for Latinos, but for different groups out there. Because oftentimes, like I said, I think we know what we need to do. It's just that we don't know how to do it. Or if we do it, no lo hacemos in a way where it's where we are connecting truly with that community and creating that you know, as we say sometimes, that safe space or that
Yeah.
sense of belonging, right? That isn't happening. And let me ask you this, you know, so, like what you just shared, where does it come from? Does it come from your own personal experience? Does it come because, hey, you know, that's what you studied, you know, when
Yeah.
you're getting your doctorado? Like,
Yeah.
where does it come from? How does someone obtain
Yeah.
and get to know how to really create that sense of community belonging?
You know, that's a great question, Oscar. And you know, I always try to remember my grandparents' advice and my grandparents' counsel through my parents. That you know, my abuelo Felix Tijerina from Brownsville, Texas. He would always tell me, and he would tell my mom, right? So in sometimes in Latino culture, you have what's called an apodo.
Yes,
You'd have a nickname, right?
yes,
Todo el mundo tiene apodo, right? No, aquel el Bembo, el whatever, right? El Papo,
yeah,
and
yeah,
everybody's got a nickname. Well, I
yes,
had my nickname, right? So Gilly, right? So, oye Gilly, 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 Gilly. Okay, well, that's my nickname. My grandpa, mi abuelo would always say to my mom, dile a Gilly que no se le olvide de dónde viene.
yes, yes, yes,
Tell Gilly not to forget where he comes from.
yes.
So when I think of what I come from, you know, I come and I happen to have this book here because I wanted to also share it. You know, there's this book that's called
Before Chicano, yes,
Before Chicano, right? The citizenship and the making of Mexican American manhood.
yes,
Óndale.
yes.
Prepárate, ahí vamos, órale. Here we go. So, you know, this work of what we're doing here is not about one person. It's not about me.
Yes,
It's about the culture of what Goshen College has been doing for over a century, right? It's years of work, right? So it's it's an institution that has welcomed people from other parts of the world because they were
mhm,
being persecuted.
mhm,
And as Anabaptists and Mennonites fled Europe because of persecution, they created ways to build community and to follow you know the words of you know being as we have in our vision and mission statement is being in the rooted in the way of Jesus. We're a private Christian college, so we will
yeah,
have those fundamental and foundational things. And
yes,
so when I think about where I grew up and I think about what some Mennonites in terms of discipleship and community building and it's the collective, es el colectivismo,
yes,
papá. Aquí
yes,
no andamos con que yo soy el mero, la última Coca-Cola del desierto. I'm not the last Coca-Cola in the desert and I've got the response for it. No, 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 no. Espérate, espérate.
yeah,
What we have at Goshen College are people who come from a very rich history where community building, peacemaking, love for the neighbor,
yeah,
doing service work in other parts of of the world, the country, and the community. Pues mira, when I think of my growing up, pues esos eran mis jefes. I was
exactly, yes,
those were my parents. My
yes,
parents were engaged in giving food to people, taking them to the doctor, helping them with their immigration papers, y que llévala con el abogado, y take them with the
Yes.
lawyer, y que llévala con el curandero, y que para allá y para acá, y que fue que vino. No, y todo el mundo ahí ayudándole a la gente.
Hey, Gilberto, don't forget el sobador también, okay? Yeah.
No, right, my friend Fred Sandoval out in New Mexico, right, with National Latino Behavioral Association says, we can't forget the curanderos, el sobador que ahí te da, right? So those things have been seated within me as a young boy, as a teenager, as a young adult, and even as an adult, as I see my parents today visiting the sick, and that's their
Mhm.
job, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I also see it in a lot of people here at the college, where you have people who are going off to lead teams in other parts of the world. We have people who are serving on these boards in our community. They're taking in students into their homes over the winter break. They open up their homes during Thanksgiving. Y les hacen una comidota que no te imaginas, right? And I have to say, a lot of people in a lot of colleges do the very same thing. So we are not unique. But what we are saying very specifically here through Goshen College is that being with you in sometimes those vulnerable spaces, that's where we want to be with you, because we think that those are the places that will help us build stronger relationships,
Yes.
help us understand
Yes.
what's next, y
Yes.
luego darte la manita y encaminarte, like get on your
Right.
way to the next thing, and no te olvides de la vuelta, ¿verdad? You got to
Mhm.
come back and give back to Goshen College, right? We're meeting with the Latinx alumni,
Yes.
engaging them to say, yeah, you're the next generation of donors here at Goshen College, and the next leaders of Goshen College. Arrímense, don't just ya agarré mi diploma y me voy,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
that can happen to a lot of people. So where it comes for me is mi familia,
Mhm.
mi vecindario, Casa Blanca and Robstown, that there
Mhm.
was a lot of connections with my friends, right? And so I learned those things along the way. And then I arrive at this amazing place of Goshen College, and everybody's doing the same thing. And I'm like, jale, pues si llegué, aquí llegué con mi todo, right? I'm happy, right? And so,
Yes.
um, it, you know, there was recently a book that was written by a professor. It's called A Mennonite College for Everyone,
Everyone. Yes.
question mark.
Yes.
And Mennonite schools across the century they've tried to build their way of Mennonite higher education.
Mhm.
And the fascinating thing about now moving into an HSI status, which I believe is the opportunity to also, again, the institution adapt
Mhm.
to a different way of reaching people who come from a different community, engaging people with una bienvenida distinta, like
Mhm.
a different welcome to this institution. That for bienvenido, if we would say the B is busco tu mejor interés, right?
Sí.
So I everything about this institution will be to make sure that when you go out of here, you're going to be ready to serve whatever community you go. Y pues yo prefiero que te quedes, ¿no? I want you to stay in the community of Goshen.
Of course.
Because we need city councilman, we need city councilwoman, we need a mayor, we need a department of engineer. We need all these people to serve the community. And we're saying that we learned how to be Goshen College from the prior leaders that made this institution who it is. And I've stepped into a situation where I'm bringing now my salsa, my salsita, no, mi flavor, mi sabor,
Tu sazón,
el
yes.
sazón de quienes somos.
Mhm.
And I'm just really blessed and thankful that the people here at this institution are saying, "Órale, anímate," like that, like as they say in these communities. Okay, do what you do and do it.
You
At least
do
that's
it.
what I hear my president say to me. It's like, "Berto, I want you to be who you are amongst us. Teach us, show us." And that's a humbling thing, right? And I say that if more presidents would do that type of work with their
Yes.
staff, I get a little emotional. It's like, It's
Yes.
special to know that the top leader is saying, be
Do
you.
it. Yes.
And that's when I think that our people, when we say to them, oye, vente, come here, be who you are, develop who you are. And if you don't know who that is, we're gonna help to try to figure that out because it's the juntos podemos más, right?
Amen.
Juntos
Amen. Yes.
podemos más.
Yes.
And I think that's where sometimes um, colleges can get stuck in a rut because you got KPIs, you got the whole 9 yards of building your brand and everything.
Mhm.
And we all struggle with that because that's part of the changing times of higher ed. But if we really say to the people, estoy contigo en tu lucha,
That's
aquí
right.
estoy,
That's
I'm here with you in your cause, people will come. And we've
ab-
seen that at Goshen College as we've gone from being in 2007 2% Latino, and now in 2023 30%, almost 30%.
ándale. Yeah.
53% students of color, international students. We are the majority at the college here. But again, we don't say, pues miren, nosotros estamos la mayoría, se
Yes.
prepárense que aquí viene el cambio, right? But
Yes.
get ready because we're gonna bring the change. No, juntos podemos
That's
más.
right. That's right. Yes, that unity that, as you said earlier, esa comunidad, that sense
Yeah,
of a belonging, of being yourself, and but I mean, thank you to you, thank you to Goshen College and your leadership for what it is that you're doing to serve Latinx students, but all students and in your community there.
yeah,
As I was listening to you right now, share some of the ways to connect that you're, some of the ways that you are connecting with students. Um, it's really, I believe, a model that other educational institutions can use, but even in the corporate world as well. There's some things there that can happen, and we're wrapping up here, coming to the end of our talk here, Gilberto. But I want to give you an opportunity to share with our audience anything, whether you have an event or any parting words that you want to share with us.
thank you, Oscar, for this opportunity, and again, very humble for the chance to share the work that's happening here. I tell people that in this work in community, there's really one thing that is very important for us to do, and the word is constancy.
Mm,
Constancy for me and for the Latino community, because so many times within the Latinx community, there have been broken promises. There have
yes,
been
yes,
situations where policies have divided families, policies have created different spaces for people. Bracero programs have really
yes.
not done justice to our people who've worked hard in this country. And I say that it's so important for the constancy is to say to the Latinx community, to Latinx students, we're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Aquí estoy.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be me,
Yes.
but there will be somebody here who will stretch out a hand de decir, te voy a dar la mano of financial aid, te voy a dar la mano de career advising, te voy a dar la mano con escribir el papel, te voy a dar la mano with leading that club, te voy a dar la
Mm-hmm.
mano with building your resume, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
not unique to any institution.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I think we're saying at Goshen College is that we want to walk with you as in terms of our Latinx community. We want to walk with you and understand your struggle and your lucha because that will inform the way we build our services for you. And if we lose sight of that, and so
Mm-hmm.
this is my word to the institutions that are listening and to the colleagues that are doing amazing work in their own spaces in their own way, and they're loving the people in their own way, right? Remember that connecting the people to the resources. It's listening to the voice of the community. It's listening to the struggle of the people, and it's telling the people, we're not going away. We're here.
Yes.
We're here for the long haul, Papa. We're here to sit with you. Y vamos a tomar. There's this thing of doing conchas, cuentos, y chismes, right? So we want to do more of that with the community. We hope people are doing more culturally affirming work with people, do more identity development with your students.
Yes.
We're really trying to step into that. Create welcome programs for your students that we're trying to do here at Goshen College. We've launched a Bienvenido learning community. We're doing those things that we hope in the end, and we're seeing, in fall of 2020, 22 to 23, retention wise, fall to spring, we had 93% retention for those Latinx students. And so
Yes.
that, again, it's a reminder that you put in the hours, you do the work, and you want to make sure that hopefully in the end you see some results, and we're not going away.
Yeah. Well, Gilberto, thank you for extending your hand to students, to the community, and thank you for extending your hand of friendship to me. I love connecting and engaging with you and seeing the incredible work that you and your team are doing for out in the community and for on your campus. Also, muchísimas gracias for being a guest again on Career Talk with OG. Lots of great tips and insights and just wisdom, amigo. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on Career Talk with OG. Please connect with Gilberto Pérez on LinkedIn. Follow him or send him an invitation to connect. Again, he's doing incredible work out there in Goshen. So, muchísimas gracias, mi estimado
Gracias a ti.
Gilberto.
Thank you.
All right.
Saludos
Bye,
a la
everyone.
gente buena.